Hello, my name is Courtney.
And my name's Giovanna. We're here to continue a story filled with gangsters and prisoners from the past.
That's right. So turn off the lights if you dare, and get ready for Shadow Chasers.
The story continues to follow a paranormal team as they investigate a museum in Illinois.
A museum that at one time was a jail known for holding some of the worst gangsters and bootleggers in southern Illinois.
The early 1900s proved to be a time filled with corruption and lawlessness that sometimes turned to violence.
Many involved in crimes in southern Illinois found themselves paying a visit to this jail.
And for a few, execution would be their fate.
You don't want to be alone for this one. As the sun sets, inmates from the past began to stir.
And some of these inmates are still singing the Jailhouse Blues.
Welcome to the Franklin County Historic Jail, and I think we're going to have a good evening. We're going to walk through. I'll give you a brief tour and tell you a little bit about the history of the exhibits, and feel free to answer any questions that you might have.
No, the spirit box is off. You can talk to me. There's something like that right next to me. Are you standing next to me? Can you pull on my shirt, touch me, show me your hair? I'll even pull my sleeves up for you. Show me all your hair. Something's on the right side of me. I'm feeling tingly messing with my shirt. My shirt's not my shirt. I still feel it's in my lower arm. Are you a little girl that got trapped down here? Stop. Are you one of the prisoners trying to get my attention? Are you one of the guards?
There was that window back there. Somebody just watching what was happening, not stepping in. Somebody had a friend on the inside. Passing notes, passing items.
This is the lower cell block, and this is where the men were housed during the latest years of the jail. You can walk through here and still see lots of graffiti, going back through all the eras, going all the way back, I would imagine, to 1905 when the jail first opened. And there's lots of gangster graffiti and carvings, and even stuff about Nazis and the KKK, and just about anything you could imagine, you can find it on these walls in here. On the perimeter, going around on the outside, is a lot of the artwork that was provided by one of the Birger gang members, Dungy, and he did his best to draw all the different scenarios of the killings that went on that he was part of. And we have a lot of visitors that come in and spend a lot of time looking over the artwork, and they're amazed by it. A lot of these are depicted in various books that we have for sale here that people are very familiar with throughout southern Illinois. But for instance, this one right here, it depicts the cockfights that Birger would run at various locations in backs of his roadhouse. Gambling, and end up in shootings and stabbings and things like that constantly. But the jail here was in operation, started in 1905 and ran through 1990. And men, women, and even children were incarcerated.
Maybe it was an early check-in or something. It was an early check-in or something. Or this could be like a 1 day old or something. Somebody pushed it against the wall right here.
This room is another where a jailer would have been stationed in order to make sure that nobody was able to get out of the cells into the living quarters of the sheriff. But imagine they would bring prisoners in here from time to time and question them. Or it could have doubled as a cell as well, for they had somebody they need to isolate for a while. But there's a few significant artifacts in here. First being the picture behind you right here on this wall. The day before Birger was hanged, he was brought in here to do an interview with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And while he was doing the interview, he actually stood right here. And this photo was taken of him during the interview. And, if you look at the picture, you can see he's a pretty rough character. He's got a finger missing, he's got a gunshot wound up the upper left shoulder, and they had all kinds of issues going on with his hands. It was said that he was in a fist fight, and he had punched a guy in the mouth and knocked his teeth out, and it caused him to get a bad infection in his hand, which ultimately led to him losing his finger and his nails on his hand.
Is there anyone here with us?
I got the feeling that, I hate to say it, but the feeling like the Joker,
I kind of feel like he was,
like mocking.
yeah, I feel like he was looking down, he's like saying, look up, look at me, watch what's happening.
Yeah, it's like focus on me, like you want to be the center of attention.
It was reminiscent of his last words. It's a beautiful world.
This chest of drawers here was shot. There was a gun battle going on. A bullet came through the home and actually it was lodged in front of this chest right here. So we were able to salvage that. I think this was actually from Joe Adams' house. And then also, you see a bullet hole here. Shelton gang, another gun battle. So you can imagine in these guys' homes, they were just riddled with bullet holes and broken windows and dishes and things throughout their entire lives until they were all finally killed or put away forever. So picture of Birger and his family during the trial at the courthouse. He had 2 young daughters. Pretty sad if you think about it.
I keep having this like sensation that I'm gonna like fall. Like get pushed or
Probably the same feeling from his death. Is there anyone still with us that's attached to these gallows?
that way.
This is the upper deck of the cell, which was later converted into the women's block of the cell. This is the upper deck of the cell, which was later converted in. This is the upper deck of the cell, which was later converted. Therefore, you'll notice the pink paint that's in here, which is kind of creepy. A lot of people always ask about that, and like they think that it was served as torture for the inmates, but I'm like, well, could have been, but. In the back, we actually have the original gallows that was constructed where Birger was hung. And there was a guy in Murfreesboro, Illinois that said to had those in his barn for all the years, and we were able to recover them.
Did you attack your fellow cellmate? If you did, can you tell us the reason why you did it?
Pretty strange. There's people that come in here and they say that there's a lot of very strange occurrences that happen. This device that's talking right now is something that's used to enable spirits, if they do exist. It gives them a voice, so it's a way for them to communicate. That's what the inventor says. So there's been several instances where I've been in here and it has said things, and it makes you turn around and look and wonder. For instance, one day, just last week, I came up here and I was standing right here and I was looking at it, wondering if it was working because I had not heard it, in hours. So I'm standing here looking at it and it comes on and says, "What are you looking at?" Which is pretty creepy. Another time I came up, and this is one of the last places where I turn off the lights. I came in, the light switches are right there, and I reached around, clicked them off, and it came on and said, "Thank you." And then there's been other instances where people will come in and they'll be taking pictures or video, and they'll go over there and they'll take pictures outside looking down at the gallows, and then they'll walk over here to take a picture, and that will come on and say, "Don't do that." And if it's women most of the time, they're really startled, and they'll come out and they'll come back to me and they'll ask me if I have some sort of a remote device that is telling this thing what to say, and I say, "No, that's completely random. I have nothing to do with it." So some people don't believe me. So, but anyway, there's a lot of stories. There's also another time where there were kids in here. I think a classroom tour came in, and maybe 20, and I think they were 4th or 5th grade, possibly. And one of the sound effects on here is loose change being thrown, because Birger was known to throw handfuls of loose change around to kids and things on playgrounds. So they came up, they heard that, and then they understood what it was. Well, when they got back downstairs and they're walking through the hallway to go back towards the front exit, a penny fell out of the ceiling right down in the group of them, and they all started screaming, and they picked the penny up and brought it in and gave it to the person working at the desk that day. So there's all kinds of odd occurrences like that that's occurred since this box has been in here, so.
What happened to you? How long were you in for?
These are photos taken the day of the Birger hanging, and it shows people came from all over southern Illinois to witness it. There were as many as 10,000 people. We don't really know for sure. Some said 5,000. Others believe it could have been 10,000. But this is a picture looking down West Main Street, which leads to I-57 down. As you can see, it's heads as far as you can see. Local businesses were getting paid 5 cents a head for people to have access to the rooftops. And then, guys were climbing up in trees just a chance to look down into the stockade and see the gallows where Birger was going to hang. And a lot of these people, thousands of people are present to see this, but they can't see it because of the wall that was built around it. But yet they still were here. It was that big of a deal for people to experience that.
It looks like the person who was on this side was also the man who rode in the showers. His name was Mad Max, or what they called him.
Here's a picture after he had left the cell here, which I'm going to explain to you. He was escorted out to the gallows by his rabbi, and this is just minutes before he was hanged. And as you can see in the photo, he has a smile or a smirk on his face, like he's feeling as though he's still going to cheat everybody of the execution.
Were you the one that everybody feared?
This was where he was incarcerated for a year. This was Birger's cell. Now, during his incarceration, he had full access to this corridor right here as well. This would have been closed and locked. This would have been opened. And for a while, he was even granted a loaded machine gun that he kept in here because people were worried, as well as him, that there would be a raid on the jail to kill him by the rival gangs. So anyway, while he was in here, there was a lot of things going on outside. Number one, building of the gallows. So he was able to walk over to this window and he could look out and see where he was going to die. And kids would come up here, and they would visit out there and they'd play on the gallows, and he would yell out and say, "Hey, you kids, you get off of that, that's mine." And other times, carpenters would be here, the construction crew building the stockade wall, and he would yell out at them, "Hey, you boys build that good, that's for me." Just kind of bragging, and they would all chuckle, and think he was funny, and, they enjoyed the camaraderie, so to speak, that they had between each other. And then while he was in here, he was he had several failed suicide attempts. One of which he had ripped a bed sheet and tied it off and tried to hang himself, but the sheet broke and he fell and slammed his head in the concrete and knocked himself out. And then another time, somebody had smuggled in some arsenic, and he had taken such a large dose of it that his body immediately rejected it, and he vomited it up, and he was really sick for a couple of days, but he got over that. But just prior to the hanging, he was getting very nervous, as you could expect, and so he had a good rapport with the guards, and one of the guards said, you know, Charlie, you okay? Because he could see he was really nervous and not looking good, and he's like, yeah, you know, I don't know. So somehow it was worked out where a nurse smuggled in a syringe with morphine from over at the Wood Building. She was able to get in. She had it wrapped in some sort of a towel, came in to check on him because the guard was worried, and she shot him up with morphine, and you know, it numbed his senses to the point to where, you know, he was walking around then with a big smile on his face, and we believe that that's what led him to his last words on the gallows before he was to be hanged, the beautiful world, with a smile on his face. So, but in it all, he was still a showman. He was sort of obnoxiously conceited and just disbelieving the whole time that he was actually going to die. When they asked him what color hood he would want over his head, he said, give me a black one because I don't want a white one because I don't want to look like no damn Kluxer. Because he hated the KKK because they were his rival. But during that era, there were a lot of immigrants coming to the county for the mining industry from eastern, western parts of Europe, and the Klan rose to power during that era to try to keep the area cleansed of all the foreign invasion that was going on. And Birger, being Eastern European Jew from part of Russia, was considered to be somebody that needed to be cleansed from the area, so the Klan was always trying to off him, and they weren't successful.
The Benton's a lot higher than him. He was running 61 in there. That's 68.
Is there anybody in this room that wants to talk to us? Do you want to tell us hello?
So this is our Civil War room. John A. Logan. General John A. Logan was a resident of Benton. He was a Civil War general for the Union, and a couple crowning achievements was he was credited with the taking of Atlanta under General Sherman, and he also wrote legislation later on in his political career that gave us what we now know today as Memorial Day.
Who followed you around? You keep walking everywhere. Who's following you?
You know, for me, I have to come up here a lot during times when there's no lights on or you know, off-peak hours and things. I'm up here at night sometimes. And for me, these two rooms, if I'm ever going to be in some place that's going to give me a chill, this is where it occurs, right here for some reason. I can't explain why that is, but maybe the way the light comes through the blue tinted glass on the windows, there's just something about these that just doesn't sit right.
Why are you here? Is this your picture?
I'm thinking it is. Then shut up for the 5.2 and then gone again. She asked that.
Do you want to tell us your story?
Or what your name is?
What's your name? Why do you feel you have to stay here?
I feel like she's over here in that room. That's all she wants to be at. That corner. If you're over there in that corner is where the flashlight is, can you turn it on for us?
Such a crazy night for this paranormal team.
Yes, with equipment failing, crawling around in cold, dark places just for starters.
This place proved to be an interesting, historically eye-opening excursion.
A place to go visit to learn more about the violence that rocked Southern Illinois.
And discover fascinating people and events beyond the gangland violence.
Very true. I didn't know that the man who helped establish Memorial Day was from Southern Illinois.
And fought with General Sherman to take Atlanta during the Civil War.
Exactly. For those who haven't visited the Franklin County Jail Museum, we encourage you to go.
Check out the wonderful exhibits and discover some exciting stories.
And maybe, just maybe, run across a ghost or two.
Fun stuff. Actually, it's been a blast sharing the story with you. But it's time for us to be going now.
Yeah, it's about that time. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Giovanna.
Thank you for joining us for another story of Shadow Chasers.
Keep the lights on. Until next time.